Governor Ron DeSantis is his battle back and forth with Florida school districts that are trying to figure out some way to go about this school year with mask mandates to keep kids and also staff safe. His battle is shifting consistently with them. He began by threatening to withhold complete funds for school districts that defied his authoritarian style ban on mask mandates. Then it shifted to maybe I'll just withhold some of the pay for school board members and superintendents. Well, that's also failed too. So now he's gone to his third rail to make sure that he stays politically to the right and with the MAGA crowd, but still punishing folks that are trying to keep folks safe. So this is from the Miami Herald as this fight continues. The governor's office is acknowledging that the state has no control over local employees' pay. And that was that last range that he tried to go with. His spokesperson called on activists, this is what she called them, quote, activists, anti-science school board members to dock their own salaries if the state follows through with the financial sanctions against their districts. She went on to say those officials should own their decision. And that means owning the consequences of their decisions rather than demanding students, teachers, and staff to foot the bill for their potential grandstanding. That's what Christina Pushaw said, who is Ron DeSantis' press secretary. She said this in an email. So he's not doing it by himself. That was his press secretary, but also the education commissioner down in Florida is trying to hand an assist to DeSantis, maybe for some political help, who knows? But they did go in to say that Florida Education Commissioner Richard Krikorian said that he may issue financial penalties for Alachua County and Broward County school districts if they refuse to amend their masking policies. Both districts are requiring a doctor's note to opt out of their mask mandates. So Krikorian warned the districts that unless they change their mask policies, that he may recommend the State Board of Education withhold funds in an amount equal to the salaries of the superintendent and all the members of the school board. So he's trying to do a workaround here to say that the school board members and the superintendents make, let's just throw a number, this isn't real, $100,000. So he's gonna withhold $100,000 from those districts so that then they have to make a decision of, we're short $100,000. Maybe if we're gonna stand by our principles of protecting our staff and students, we should just not get paid, that's our principle. So that's the political angle that they're trying to go through to push to the media. More from this. The issue is that superintendents and school board members are not state employees. That's the reason why they can't do so much direct control over their incomes. Therefore, the only way the state could tailor the financial penalty would be to withhold an amount of funding equal to their salaries. This is what the press secretary said. In that event, it's possible that the officials who are violating the law could decide to take funding from other needs of their own district in order to pay themselves their salaries. It wouldn't be fair to the students, but it would be technically possible, is what she went on to say. Is this move gonna work? Is the first question that I wanna pose to you guys. And as far as withholding funds, are they gonna be able to pass this next legal challenge or even just rules challenges? And also, is it gonna win politically? Because I think that's really where they're focusing their attention on.
No, I'm going on a limb and say absolutely not. It is so unclear what the angle here is, right? If Governor Ron DeSantis is trying to politicize mask wearing, once again, keeping us all safe, keeping Floridians and students safe and teachers safe, then it's hard to see why even penalizing those specific counties and the school boards of those counties and the people in the communities of those counties, because teachers are part of their community, would it all win you any points at all? Because I imagine in a lot of these Florida counties, there are folks who are divided. So you're gonna have families and even teachers maybe who don't believe in the masks somehow still a year and a half into this. But then you have people who do actually believe in the real science and wanna keep children and themselves safe. So I'm not sure how splitting that down the middle and penalizing everyone in totality could do anything but backfire on them. Or hey, there's always a teacher strike. Remember that? Remember when teachers are going on strike in red states? That happens.
I was born and raised in Florida, so nothing but respect for my governor. But I gotta say that DeSantis, when the coronavirus started and everyone was instituting lockdowns, Florida was very hesitant on lockdowns. They did a very brief lockdown, and then they opened up quicker than everyone else, and that gave him a huge amount of popularity. I gotta say, like that he was. I mean, I was hearing from people all over, like in my life, people who were just thrilled with DeSantis because they were watching California lockdown, and Los Angeles was like very locked down for a long time while Florida was open, and that gave him a huge amount of popularity. I think he understood that to be. Like that COVID kind of denialism was popular, but it's not. What I think the lockdowns were very unpopular because people were like going crazy in their homes. But I think the mask stuff, and especially going after schools and teachers, which is, politicians think is like people are tired of because they think people don't like teachers unions and things like that. But like when push comes to shove, teachers are very popular and public schooling is very popular. And when they start going after that, then you start to see people turn against you. And I think in the last week or two, DeSantis' approval rating has gone down in Florida. But I gotta say, the anti-lockdown position that he took made him extremely popular in Florida. And I predict that he'll probably run on that when he runs for president in 2024. That he'll run on is like, I was the guy who stood up to the libs on COVID, and look how stupid they are, and I didn't trust them, and you can't trust them, and I was the only one. And look at where it got me today. I'm running for president.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like the gamble here is for the fall and for the school to be that on those same lines. Like, okay, he got the popularity of being the governor that opened up the state immediately, and they got all this going. But now when it comes to the schools now reopening for the fall, and everyone is tired of distance learning. I have a kid who's tired of the Zoom meetings that kids don't want to be on. They're also tired of masks. All these things are true. So the only thing is trying to juggle those frustrations that many have, and that's across the board. It's not like Republicans or conservatives are the only ones that have frustrations with masks. No one wants to wear masks. That's where the frustration comes from a lot of other folks who are accepting it, is that we don't want to do this anymore. So can you do something to help us collectively get this together so that we don't have to do this anymore? Everyone misses going to the grocery store and sending their kids off to school and going, see you later, I hope you make it back okay. So it's not like he's gonna be able to speak to one particular group. So the groups that are also frustrated, the frustration is gonna brew, even in his mistakes in making these kinds of things. And there's one point I wanna call out that Francesca, you talked about how popular teachers are. I'm sorry, maybe it was maybe Nando too, but
it's okay. You can give her the credit.
Please.
I mean, I might as well.
Said that.
Okay.
So teachers are popular, right? And so are doctors, as long as their last name is not Fauci. So as a part of this, maybe this is what's helping his approval rating drop a bit. But there's Florida doctors have signed on to this letter. I think they said about 800 of them signed on to this letter. This is from the Hill, to try and force Governor DeSantis to chill on this anti-mask mandate ban. So just some of these quotes from this article. As the virus burns through Florida, healthcare providers feel that this is from this particular letter that was put forward by these doctors. Healthcare providers feel we are fighting this fire without any leadership from Governor Ron DeSantis, blocking communities from making local decisions to protect themselves with his top-down, one-size-fits-all edict will only make matters worse, is what this letter said. It goes on to say, his executive order prohibiting local school districts from implementing COVID-19 safeguards exposes every child to a virus that is deadlier than the flu, as contagious as smallpox, and preventable with two basic mitigation measures: mask use and vaccinations. The letter also continues. So they went on to just call him out and say, here, we're doctors that know what we're talking about. We're dealing with these situations, and he's just not providing the leadership we need to get by this.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can't imagine.
We'll see.
I cannot imagine the frustration. Obviously, Jayar, you're a parent. My brother is a public school teacher in Oakland. It's his first week back at school, and it absolutely sucks to have to wear masks in the classroom. And last year was a wash, right? And it looks like this year is gonna continue to be really difficult. But on top of all of that, having it just be bludgeoned by like politics and every little step to try and keep your students and yourself safe being politicized is so morally defeating at this point. It's already been hard enough. Now we have to fight this another battle when we've been given all the tools we can to try and succeed at schooling kids in schools themselves, and now we're still fighting a battle. I mean, it's just, you want to pull your hair out here. And so It's funny because I think Nando's saying that he's, Governor DeSantis is trying to make his mark by saying, I am against any COVID protocols, any COVID safety, and he's banking on that. Well, there's someone else who banked on that too, and that's Trump himself. Trump lost. Remember, I know, surprising, right? How, right? With Biden, yeah, that happened. So I'm not sure if this is the hill you want to die on, because so many are literally dying.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a gamble, but I mean, and it's very obvious like what's going on in that DeSantis is ever since he kind of gained national recognition by doing the most ridiculous political ad I think I can remember, the one where like his kid was like doing the building blocks and he was building the wall and he's like, this is what President Trump wants us to do, and his kid was, like, and everyone kind of made fun of him and stuff. Like, I was amongst them cheerily doing it, but he's a savvier political operator than I think people realize, and he's pretty dangerous because he's understood exactly how to achieve political popularity on the right, and it's not any particular policy that matters. That doesn't matter at all. What matters is how effectively can you troll the libs? How effectively can you make the libs' hair go on fire? And it's a feedback loop that has worked for him. And what he does is like he does these kind of big outward displays of lib trolling, and then quietly does all kinds of like little policy things in the background that are nowhere near as, separate from the COVID stuff, nowhere near as radical as he positions himself as. And that to me is a very dangerous combination for a Republican politician. I watch him do his thing in Florida, and I think like this guy is gonna be a force in national politics because he's understood the political moment so well. We live in this kind of never-ending culture war, and every single issue gets politicized. And the person who effectively fights that culture war, you don't have to win ever. You just have to keep it going. And as long as you're like the guy who keeps it going all the time, you will be rewarded. And he's the one that's doing it more effectively than anyone else. So I'm pretty terrified of DeSantis.
We'll see if it translates into a national campaign, because as you said, I can buy that some of the policies he does locally or just for the state will end up getting popularity for him outside of some of the disastrous things that everyone talks about nationally. We'll just see if it transfers over, is my first thought. And number two, before we go to this break, Nando, born and raised Floridian. Alachua, did I say that right? Alachua, or is it Alachua? Alachua.
I think Alachua.
Sounds like someone sneezing. Yeah. I want to say God bless you. Can I just say though, I have to get this joke in here. It's not a great one, but I will say what Nando is saying is that Ron DeSantis is the Trump variant.
No,
yes,
right? But you know what?
Thank you.
Even with the joke, it's truth. So it matters of whether or not that'll transfer over. Again, a one-term president. What other one-term president in recent history can we point to and then see that a national figure right behind him will be trying to duplicate what he did right after he lost? People talk about Jimmy Carter all the time. People talk about HW all the time, that they made these severe mistakes and then no one ever better do that again. Oh, that's shameful. Don't act like that guy. If you want to lose, you do. Suddenly that narrative is completely flipped on its head. But so is everything else in this country.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.